Hey everyone, it is Chris with the Journeyer, and I am with the REI Co-op ADV 2.2 gravel bike. And that's kind of a mouthful, but this is REI's branded bike. Co-op is a brand of REI, and they have several different models, but this I think is one of their best ones. This is a gravel bike, and one that I chose for some very specific reasons. I think mainly just because it's lightweight. It has a carbon fork, so it's a more comfortable bike. It's a 20 speed, so plenty of gears for getting up hills, which is what I was most concerned about because I come from an e-bike background. Any of the other reviews that I've done has been about e-bikes primarily. So I needed a bike that I was going to be able to ride comfortably and not die on the hills. you know, I'm middle aged. I'm a grandma, and I needed a bike that someone like me could ride. I'm not the most fit person in the world, but I'm not that out of shape either. But anyway, this is a fantastic bike, and it's one that I'm definitely glad that I chose. I really didn't know what to expect too much before I bought it because this is kind of a bike that's new to me. I haven't ridden a bike with drop bars since like the 1980s. So this is definitely new to me. I've never had a bike with a carbon fork, but I knew that they were a lot more comfortable than an aluminum fork, and it definitely is. I'm just been very surprised at how comfortable the bike is over rough terrain, even doing single track. I did some single track later in this morning, this ride, and I'm going to show you some of that. And that's kind of the first time I've ever really tried doing that seriously with a bike, and I didn't know what to expect, from me or from the bike, but we both did good, although I say probably the bike did better. Something I did do was kind of shorten the reach a little bit on the bike. This is an extra small frame.
Hi,
I'm 5'1",
morning.
and getting over the frame, getting on and off the bike was fine for me. It's just the reach was a little too long, which is usually my issue. So you are able to adjust the levers, kind of bring those in a little bit closer, if you have smaller hands, or just kind of shorten that reach. And I also put a little bit shorter stem on it. And it also doesn't come with pedals, but I did put these pedals on there from Rock Bros. I guess that's how it's said, and they're good, very grippy, and I just got those off of Amazon. So you will need to buy some pedals for this bike when you order the bike. Again, it is a 20 speed, and it does have Shimano GRX components to it, which are gravel specific. This bike is built for gravel riding, and gravel riding just kind of means that this has kind of off-road capabilities. It's very much like a road bike in style and in form, but it has a little bit wider tires, 40 millimeter, and they're grippy. And it also has that carbon fork for some, not just keeping the bike lighter, but just keeping it more comfortable when you are going over kind of some rougher terrain. And mostly the drivetrain. The drivetrain is really what makes this bike. And it does have a clutch, which you're able to turn on or off. And you really only want to turn it off when you're removing the rear wheel. Keeping that turn on is going to keep that chain tight. It's not going to be slapping around, and it's not going to be falling off the chainring. I think there's kind of some good pros to this bike if you're looking at this, so trying to figure out if you want to buy this or not. I think the main points about it that you would want to choose this over something else is that it does have the gravel specific drivetrain. And that is a big deal because a lot of gravel bikes, or bikes that are called gravel bikes, are really just kind of road bikes with maybe a little bit wider tires, but they're just not going to do that great off road. And I think a lot of thought, a lot of attention was put into the design of this bike. Even the handlebars, they're a little bit wider, they're flared out, they're going to give you a little bit more stability, a little bit more maneuverability when you're in kind of more on a more technical trail than what you would get from just a typical road bike. But I think what I appreciate the most about the bike is just, again, the hill climbing ability. It's very good at that. And now, of course, if you're in like a mountainous region where, you have like insane grades or whatever, you might want to go with a bike that has a larger rear cog in the back. But this is an 11 to 36 tooth, which is good for the moderate hills that I'm dealing with here in Illinois. Um, Definitely can find the perfect gear to power me up just about anything, and really, I wouldn't say effortlessly, but I wouldn't expect to be effortlessly, but yeah, I can definitely climb these hills, and I felt great about that, coming from an e-bike background. Now, something else that a lot of people are looking for in a gravel bike are tubeless ready wheels, and this does have that. So that is a big pro for this bike if you're looking for something that you can take on some adventures out into the wild and not worry about getting so many flat tires. So it is tubeless ready, and the tires on here do have good tread. There is a center line to it, a kind of a smoother center line, so you do have still good efficiency on pavement. still get some good speed, but you still have plenty of grip to go through like sand and gravel or whatnot. So good multi-purpose tires on it. The aluminum frame is also really good quality. It's got good welds to it. The paint's kind of a chalky white. It's kind of a matte finish. It's definitely not glossy. So it does kind of get some smudges on it, kind of some greasy marks on there. You'll have to kind of clean it a little bit more robustly than a glossy bike, but it's not going to scratch or scuff nearly as much. Now this bike also has Shimano Tiagra shifters, and this is totally new to me. I've never had a bike with shifters built into the brake levers. And again, there was kind of a learning curve to it for me. On your right side, this is going to operate the rear derailleur, and on the left side is going to operate that front one. But after I got used to it, it's definitely kind of just become second nature. The shifting up or shifting down. Definitely love the hoods on these levers. I'm new to that as well. Very comfortable. Great place to put your hands to rest. Really didn't experience any fatigue on this bike in terms of shoulder pain or hand pain. Good wrapping on it. The tape on it is comfortable. Just a good design handlebar to it. Very ergonomic. Again, I did have to shorten the reach a little bit for me, and you can do that, with a shorter stem. Now, of course, the tracking on this bike is very good. This is a stiff frame going down hills at speed. It's going to keep a straight line. This is again, it's just a stiff frame and it tracks very nicely. And you see me with my out of shape physique riding this bike up a hill here. And I just thoroughly been enjoying the bike. I kind of really wanted to stress that with this video, and that's why I'm going to kind of include a lot of riding scenes to it because it was just so fun to ride. And here you can see here it is, the extra small frame. This does come in 5 frame sizes, so I think it can accommodate 5 foot to 6'3". There's an extra small, medium, large, and I think an extra large frame. So pretty much whatever your height is, you're probably going to be able to find the right frame size for you, and that is so important. I always stress that with any bike purchase, that you get a bike that fits you, because no matter how good a bike is, how fancy, how great it is, if it doesn't fit you well, it's not going to be a good experience. So definitely kind of maybe go get fitted for a bike. Even if you're going to be purchasing online, maybe just do your homework before you choose the size bike that you order. And this bike, like I was saying, it is very comfortable. I think it's due to that carbon fork up front, going over rough pavement. You went on these older trails with the roots that have pushed up the asphalt or just potholes or whatever. It goes over it very good, and never felt like the bike was going to get out of control, even going over a bump or anything. So very stable bike, very comfortable. Again, I just kind of really want to stress that. A lot of people kind of would get suspension on their bikes, but you really don't need it in most cases unless you're doing mountain biking. You're jumping off of ramps or whatever. In most cases, you just don't need suspension. That solid fork, or that especially that carbon fork there, is going to give you so much greater efficiency. And so don't be afraid to get a bike that doesn't have suspension. It's going to keep the bike lighter, maybe a little bit less expensive, and just give you a little bit better ride quality. You're just not going to have to work so hard pedaling it. And for someone like me, that's very good news. Now, obviously, this isn't as easy to pedal, or it's not as fast or as efficient as a road bike with those little, real skinny tires. This is a bike that I noticed that it really doesn't roll really fast when you're going down a hill. It just doesn't take off like a lot of bikes that I've had before. Of course, the e-bikes that I have are so heavy. When you get going down a hill, they really just get to motoring. So maybe I'm just used to that. But this does seem like a bike that has good control to it. So, which I really kind of discovered is a good thing about it when you are on more technical trails, when you're off-roading. It doesn't just speed off on you when you are going down a hill. You're not just constantly having to use the brakes on it. And that's a good thing. Now, of course, you can't review a gravel bike without going on gravel. And there's not a lot of gravel trails where I live, so I did kind of go over some chunky gravel here in a parking lot. And it did good. It never slipped out on me or anything. But of course, no bike really does that great in chunky, loose gravel. But it did good, actually. Going over grass, dirt, if you're going to go off-road with this, it is pretty darn comfortable. I mean, obviously, you don't want to go full speed because you'll get kind of beat to death. But at slower speeds, it definitely handles it well. And this is me here doing a little bit of single track and some woods next to my house. And I've been back here before with different bikes, not really too seriously, but I spent some time back here kind of going on these trails, and I really I really thought it was fun. I didn't think I was going to enjoy this. I didn't know how the bike would handle. I didn't know how I would handle it. But I kind of found maybe a new hobby. This is really a lot of fun going through here, and the bike was surprisingly very maneuverable. Going around the roots, going over the roots, it did fantastic, and I was just it definitely was not a harsh ride, and that's what I kind of would have expected. I was expecting kind of a harsh ride, getting beaten to death, but definitely not. This is truly a good gravel bike, a good off-road bike. Now, obviously, it's not a mountain bike. You're not going to be able to take this on super technical trails and jump it off of ramps and do crazy things, but it is going to handle, dirt. It's going to handle gravel. It's going to handle going over some roots. So pretty much wherever you find yourself, this bike is going to do a pretty good job, and in a very good way. Now, I was really having a good time back here, so I spent kind of a little while back here kind of going around in circles, going on the trails over and over again, and people probably thought I was nuts. I mean, there were a couple other people there that were much more experienced than I was, riding their mountain bikes and doing crazy things, and here I was, this grandmother out here riding on these trails and having a blast. I mean, this bike is just so much fun. And I just totally was not expecting it at all. I figured, okay, it'll do okay over some grass and some gravel, blah, blah, blah. But it's just a fun bike. And this was just, again, it was a blast. I really enjoyed myself, and I'm definitely going to do this again. And this is just a kind of a perfect bike to do this on. Again, not super technical stuff, but, these dirt trails, it does very well on it.
Here we go.
Well, there it is. This is the REI Co-op ADV 2.2 gravel bike, and I have had so much fun reviewing this bike and getting to know it and getting to learn about gravel bikes and what makes a good gravel bike. And I think this one is a very good one. I'm very happy with the purchase. I think that most people would be happy with this. There are a couple things that I would kind of ding the bike for. Probably the most important one is just there's no mounting points on the front fork, and this is a bike that you could definitely do some bike packing on it. It would be nice to be able to mount a front rack up there more easily if it has some mounting points. So that I would kind of have to ding it for a little bit there. And then the mechanical brakes, I mean, it's not really an issue for me, but I know for some people they prefer hydraulic. But I know the thinking on this, I think I read this somewhere, that the thinking was that the mechanical brakes are just easier to adjust when you're, just out in the wild. And this is an adventure bike. This is a bike you want to take out in the mountains or out in the hills, wherever you are, and you can just adjust this on the fly, with very minimal tools. And the brakes do have good stopping power, so I really don't have any complaints of them at all. But overall, yeah, definitely 2 thumbs up for me. If you want to learn more about this bike, see all the full specs, REI lists those very well for all of their bikes, so you can really see all the components that are put on this bike. REI has good service, good warranty, and I definitely recommend buying from them if you're near an REI, or if you want to have it shipped to you like I did. Definitely no regrets buying this. I've been thoroughly happy with it, and I will see you next time.